If you're in the flow of the blessing, it never gets diluted. It will get magnified further. Those people that answered the call in this next phase will equally and even more so enjoy a blessing because they're in the flow of God. And what's the purpose here? To stop these monsters from occupying the ground we walk on, from walking on the streets, sharing the streets with us.
That's exactly
Hiding
right.
in plain sight, running our country, running our government in positions of authority, running companies that we're trying to do business in and function in and communicate through. Every facet of our life is touched by these people who have a different way of looking at things, and their way of looking at things is totally at odds with the will of God for his people. We're going to take our country back. We're going to cut the links out of their chains. We're going to remove them from our society. We will not be a captured operation anymore. We're going to realign ourselves with proper government, proper jurisdiction, proper authorities for good. We're going to get our house in order in America. And then we're going to go out to the world, not to be our brother's keeper, not to lord it over the rest of the world, but to be our brother's brother to the rest of the world. That's what this moment is all about. We're there. I can only tell you also that there is certain things that all the ducks have to be in a row. You know, this isn't just for really literally just the presidency. It isn't even just for the United States. The whole world is hanging on these next few moments.
Yes.
And what has to happen. Are we going to let the bank robbers get away, get down the street, get around the corner? If the bomb blows up in the bag full of cash and they got blue dye all over them, okay, they're marked. Does that, change anything? How do you do that? What's the next piece of the puzzle? I don't want to go way deep in the weeds here on your show right now. I did a show with Prim and Jen. You met him. He actually goes by Prime, but they mispronounce it. A victim of a public school education. His name is really Prim. He didn't even know it. But you met Prim and Jen this weekend, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful, fun folks. They had a show I did last week. If you go listen to that show, I get into the mechanics of exactly what the sequence is to restore President Trump to the presidency, and then do the arrests and checking of what's got to happen next. So if you want to get, for those people going, oh, give me details, I did it. Go over there, Prim and Jen, listen to their show and get the details. I'm trying to give some of the broad principles here, and there's, sometimes people get too into the details. Your life, what God's telling you to do, might not be what he wants the next person to do. God has a particular sequence, and in the next phase, some people in your listenership may be exactly the person that absolutely must be there at some phase to bring other people to the story who then have some other form, relationship, knowledge, access, something that carries this message forward to the next spot. It's a relay. I'm looking forward to see God build that out, and people will come back with stories, just like I told you, the 107 thing, stunning. Same exact number with V, 107,000 is the number on the cock, and something else that happened. So sometimes there's like it's not a message for everybody else. It wasn't your message. It was a message to me. Everybody that shows up in these later things, they're on a mission. They have a calling. They're supposed to be there. They're going to be part of a move of God. You want to help save the children, you got to be part of the message. Everywhere you put the sole of your foot, you're going to take your country back and take back the planet. But each person, I don't know what your mission is precisely. A lot of people would think that, well, I didn't get to go to the one in Las Vegas, so now it's all over with. No. It's just starting. You plant your crops at different elevations based on when it warms up. Lower altitudes, you can plant earlier. Higher altitudes, you got to wait a little longer. It's the right season for other people in other parts of the country. When it's right, it's right. And the rest of your audience needs to show up on that day. Look, when God calls, you got to answer. I believe a lot of your audience is going to be called here shortly to do something, to take some action, to respond in some way. When he calls you, be ready to answer. And if you do, there's a blessing somewhere in there for showing up. And part of that's going to be answering a call of God over these next weeks and months and year, as we move through the process, not just of taking our country back in some figurative way, but taking a stand, being counted, shouldering up to occupy our land for our people, and to push out these people who are occupying us for foreign enemies, who are occupying us for people who have dastardly purposes and want to lord them over us and to control us and to shut us up. An occupying army, once you've won the war, you still have to occupy the city and own those streets so the enemy doesn't filter back in. Evil things are being done all across the country because people aren't standing up and being counted. Oh, I'm afraid. They're going to see me. They're going to do something against me. They're going to take action against me. I got to hide my cell phone. I got to, go find a deeper, bomb shelter to hide in. No, we're going to take our country back. We're going to own it once again. And somehow, that may not be understandable, each person has a different calling of God on them. So whatever does God give the same mission to every one of us? No. Sometimes we're in the same place at the same time.
It doesn't matter if it's the center or an edge or whatever. It drives you crazy if even one piece is missing when you're finishing a puzzle.
Yep. Because it's like a discordant note on the piano, and there's no relief there.
Right.
So everybody has to show up. There is a puzzle aspect to this. Everybody has to show up. It's not, you get a corner piece, you get a key color piece. That was stuff that happened this weekend. But now everybody else we got a couple pieces of the puzzle, but it's far from done. Well, we're going to do some events that are intended to provide the opportunity for everybody else to show up to fill in the puzzle pieces in getting America back on track and to pushing these enemies out to where there's no place left for them. There's a song by, I think, Guns N' Roses. And in my mind, I hear that song and it's demons crying out, because what's the song? Where will we go now? Where will we go now? It's like somebody has died and the demons have to go find another body to possess. Where will I go now? Where will we go now? If America stands up and is counted, these demons forced out of our country, out of our land. And where will they go now? Are we going to just let them go into the swine on the hill, or are they going to hell? We're going to take our country back, but everybody has to stand up and be counted. And it could be out in flyover country, Kansas, or Nebraska, or Iowa, or Montana, or Colorado, or it could be in the middle of the densest jungles in New York and New Jersey and Los Angeles. And each one of the people has to show up. If you're called by God, you got to show up. Whatever it is, you got to show up. When your audience is called in their station, in their locale, to be present and accounted for, don't be AWOL. You know what I'm saying? And then, just to wrap it up, because I have other meetings I have to get to here, and I've got some folks who have been waiting. The interesting thing is, people are all anxious. They're all upset. They're all excited. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? The one thing I was going to say is that, if we show up, just like you showed up at this event, there was a spirit of expectation. I have a spirit of expectation that a move of God is just around the corner. We're right on the precipice of it. The green light is about to go off, and you were going to go full pedal to the metal to do things that must be done to get the country back. There's this expectation that I think all of your listeners should have, instead of being hand wringing like my friend was this morning, who everybody know who this person is, everybody. And what I said is, no, God's going to do something amazing here. He hasn't given up on us at all. We're these bad guys, and I do think they're bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people say whatever they want. Look, when
they're the worst guys.
Yeah. Sick.
Well, let me just say it this way: when you rescind an order that then makes it possible for the pedophiles to stick around if they've been identified, stay here in America. If you rescind an order that pushed them out and said you can't come here, where's that an American thing? You look at all those executive orders, and so many of them are handing the country off to people overseas, etc., against the interests and best interests of the American people, the home team who paid for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, let's just be specific.
Let's
call that order what it was, and who did that. That happened Monday.
Yeah. Was it
or Tuesday?
Yeah.
The last couple of days. So this, I don't want to timestamp this because people can enjoy this into the future. But what was the name of the act that President Trump put in place? The Talon Act, and then that was rescinded.
Mm-hmm. Well, again,
by Joseph Biden this week.
Right. And so to me, let me just say this. There's certain triggers, there's certain lines in the sand that when you cross them, are you mocking God, the devil himself, and his agents, doing things that are clearly at odds with the will of God? When you cross certain lines, that becomes the final thing that then God will not look the other way. There was a certain line in the sand, and then the meteorites come for Sodom and Gomorrah.
Mm-hmm.
When they were having a rave, a great big huge party in Babylon, and they're all drinking and feasting and having a great time, and then the king's laughing about how he's got the Jews and he's got all of their treasure, and he calls for the utensils from the temple of God to be brought in, because they're going to drink from these utensils, the gold cups and bowls and everything else, and they're going to use them in their fetid, corrupt party, drinking and drunken rave. The king called, yeah, bring all the golden cups out from their temple. That God, they thought he could beat us. No, come on, bring them in here. We're gonna pour the wine deeper. We're gonna piss in the cups. We're gonna do whatever we want. God can't do a thing. Their God isn't nothing. We are Babylon. We're king of the world. And then they get him in there. They're all doing whatever. They're drunk. They could care less about God. Who? He's not stopping us. And out of the darkness, in the middle of that candle-lit rave, a white hand appears, just the hand. And the finger of God writes in the stone like it was butter, and writes some words in the stone, the handwriting on the wall. And they can't understand it. It's in a language they don't even understand. So then, while their knees are shaking because they just saw a hand as a ghost, and they saw what it did, they all saw it, and they're half sobering up while their knees are shaking, and they call for the prophet of God. And the prophet shows up, and they show him what just happened. They tell him what just happened. A hand appeared from nowhere in the midst of all of us and wrote on the wall, what does it mean? And the prophet reads it because he has the mind of God. He can hear and see what God had to say. And he says, this day, the kingdom will be taken away from you, and your lives will be required. It's all over. I'm telling you, as sure as we're sitting here, they have challenged God. They've gone one step too far. They've challenged and gone against the will of God. And they've gone after the innocents, the children, and God is not mocked. God's children are not for sale. And those people that are doing that thought they could get away with it, Baal worshipers in America, Babylon in America, the day has come. God will not be mocked. This is all going down. Anyway, folks, I have
Thank you
got
so
to
much,
Yes.
Juan.
people
We
waiting
really
for me.
appreciate your time. You have a great day. And again, thank you so much for just giving. You are such a giver, and we just really appreciate it.